Thank you, Karen, for welcoming us with your music this morning. It's always a gift to hear you play. And of course, welcome to all of you who are here with us in person, and those of you who are joining us online. Good morning. I must admit that whenever I get asked to be worship leader, I always experience a degree of trepidation because I'm never quite sure what to say. Nevertheless, I decided to answer the call this week and then spend a fair amount of time thinking about how I should invite us all into worship this morning. As I was thinking and kind of looking out my window, I couldn't help but escape the visual splendor that we are starting to catch glimpses of as the seasons shift from winter into spring. In particular, I have been savoring with gratitude the beauty of the Japanese magnolia tree I am so lucky to have in my backyard. Just in the past week or so, it has come into full bloom with large, plump, white and pink flowers. And since it's a tree that blooms in the early spring, it often doesn't come into full splendor since I think sometimes late frosts tend to kill off the buds. But for whatever reason this year, the timing and the temperature have turned out to be just right. And so that's making it particularly special. And I'm noticing that there are many of these trees, in fact, throughout my neighborhood that I hadn't really seen before, but now are, gracing us with their beauty. And so this tree, in its simple elegance, leaves me with a sense of gratitude for our natural world, which reminds us of that which is greater than ourselves and keeps on ticking regardless of the trials and tribulations of our human affairs. Despite what can seem like a troubled world, there is still much to be grateful for. So I guess all I'm trying to say is that maybe we should, in fact, stop and smell the roses. And so with that, I once again welcome you here to Rainbow Mennonite Church and invite you to stand as you are able and join us in singing Here in This Place, Voices Together, number 10, stanzas 1, 2, and 4.
I'd like to invite all the children up for a moment of wonder. All right, welcome everyone. Who can tell me what we've got up here? What does this look like? What was that? It's a bag. Ryder, did you want to say more about it? What kind of bag is it? A Hy-Vee paper bag, yep. So what do you think might be in a Hy-Vee paper bag? Layla? Stuff, yeah, there is, yeah. Sometimes it's nothing. Any other guesses? What do you usually put in, like, if you get bags like this? Bastion? A snake. Not today, unfortunately. What's your guess? A dinosaur. No. A dinosaur? Not a dino either. Yeah. Groceries from Hy-Vee, yeah. So they're not from Hy-Vee, but I'd grab the bag. But groceries, yeah. Does that look like something you all might have at your house? What else we got in here? Cheez-Its. And what else? Mac and cheese. Do you ever get that? Does that look like familiar food to you? No? Yeah, you probably eat healthier than that. That's good. Yeah. At Target, yeah, they do have them at Target too. Yeah, so these are like some groceries we might find at our stores, and they're just a visual. This morning, last week, we started collecting, unfortunately, yeah, sorry, we're not gonna eat any of this morning. I should have clarified that from the beginning. Ruben? You have Cheez-Its and mac and cheese at your house? Yeah, nice. So the reason I brought this is because last week we started collecting coins. They're in here, in this big bucket. Ooh, we also collected some bills. That's good. So, do you remember who was here last week and helped? Some of you were. And Natasha kind of explained how even though some of these coins aren't worth a lot, like you cannot buy much with just 1 penny, right? Or even a nickel, or even a dime, or even a quarter. But if you put it all together, you can start buying things with it. So with the money that's in this bucket, you could definitely buy a bag full of groceries. Well, we are doing this because there's an organization called Mennonite Central Committee. Sometimes we call it MCC. And what they do is they work all over the whole world. They work in the United States and in Canada and do things here. And then they go to other countries too. And this money will be donated to them so that they can help people buy food. So that's why I brought the groceries. There are a couple pictures. Can we pull up? So you might need to move back a little bit to see on the screen up there. This is a picture of some people who received some food from MCC. Can you tell what kind of food that is? Say that. Beans. It looks kind of like canned beans, right? It's actually canned meat. And MCC cans this meat in a truck. Isn't that kind of funny? It drives all over the United States and stops places, and people bring meat, like, I think some of these cans are pork, and they might do like beef or turkey, and people work on this truck to can the meat and send it overseas. Why do you think they can meat? Any ideas? Yeah, Ryder got it. So it won't go bad because the people that we give this meat to are people that are not often living at their homes anymore. They're called refugees. because they've had to flee and go to different places than their home, so they don't have their refrigerators, maybe. Yeah, it's called moving, and they do. They move a lot. They move more than what probably most of us have to. And the reason they have to move so much is because, oh no, not dinosaurs, but danger. They often have to move because things are dangerous in their homes. So this picture is from Ukraine. There's one more picture from South Sudan. Can you see what kind of food these kids received, or people received? I don't know if they're both kids. You can't quite see. You can walk back there if you want to. Can anyone guess what that is? I think maybe the big bag is rice, probably. Just some like really staple food for people. And often food that will last them and they can use. So we are going to collect money this morning again. So I'll give you each a bowl. You're going to walk around, and adults or whoever's in the pews, if you have money, raise your hand up so that they can see where to go. And then you'll bring your bowl full of money back and we'll dump it into the bucket, okay? You ready? Oh, great, yeah, you can just put them right in. Sorry. Do you want one, Ruben? Probably won't do much. You can keep those.
I can still lift it. So next week, bring your coins. Yeah, there's some international currency in there. Well, today's scripture picks up on coins, wouldn't you know? So listen for that. And lambs. That's going to be another word or image that you'll hear throughout this morning. Coins and lambs. This part of scripture that we're in the Gospel of Luke, is this wonderful trio or trifecta of parables about lostness. It's about lost things. One of them is about a lost animal, and the other is about a lost son. We'll hear the one about the lost son next week. So we're going to look at two of these things, these lost aspects of life that have extraordinary value, and when they're found, a great celebration occurs. So Andy will read these soon. I want to just give a brief kind of paragraph of introduction. What comes right before this portion of Luke, these parables, last week we heard a parable that Jesus spoke while sitting at the table of a Pharisee. A Pharisee had hosted a dinner, and then Jesus tells a parable about a dinner party. What follows after that is really Jesus upping the ante, so to speak. He starts talking to those who have ears to listen about what it actually means to follow him, okay, to not just give lip service. Is there an echo? Could maybe turn this off? Not quite sure. Maybe it's fine. Okay. So he's talking about the requirements or the demands of what it means to follow after him. It may require leaving father or mother, wife, children, brothers and sisters. It may require leaving wealth behind. It might even require life itself. Whoever does not carry the cross, Jesus is saying here, whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Count the cost. Don't start what you can't finish. Don't be salt that loses its flavor, its value. Well, what follows then are these two short parables about people who are counting what is valuable around them. And they notice when one is missing. You don't necessarily notice what's missing unless you're very aware of what you have, right? So listen for that. Something of value has gone missing. Pay attention to this parable.
Luke chapter 15, verses 1 through 10. This is from the New Revised Standard Version. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him, and the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. Which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that is lost until he finds it? When he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost." Just so, I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. Or what woman, having 10 silver coins, if she loses one of them, does not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? When she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost." Just so, I tell you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents.
I made a special request to hear that song today. Thank you, Doug, for singing it so beautifully. Shepherd me beyond my wants, beyond my fears, from death into life. That phrase, from death into life, has been like singing in me all week. And it's been an interesting phrase to have kind of at the forefront of my heart while studying these parables of Jesus found in Luke. Because if you take a wide-angle lens and kind of look at this collection of parables, I think this is precisely what Jesus is trying to do here, calling us into greater life. And helping us see all the death-dealing ways and forces around us that deaden us while we are still alive. One of my singer-songwriter friends sings about being dead to the fact that we are alive. Wealth, specifically greed, the lust for power and control, violence. What I hear Jesus talking about, teaching us in these parables, is there is another way. Follow me. Let's prepare that banquet of love in the midst of hatred. Well, next week, the prodigal son story, or maybe better put, the prodigal family story. There's a lot going on in that parable. The son is specifically, he skirts the edges of these death-dealing ways. Fortunately for him, he returns home before it's too late for him. So that's next week. Well, as I thought about the parable today, involving a shepherd and his lost lamb and a woman and her lost coin, I started to think about the life and death dimensions here in this story. Sometimes I think about life is full of desolation and consolation. Okay, life and death. And where is the turning of death into life in these parables? So with all parables, it's tricky, at least for me, for interpreters, to know for sure who the parable is for or who it is mostly about. So think with me. Is Jesus showing us what God is like in these parables? How God acts? Or is it and is it about how we are to act? Are there teaching lessons here on how humans should act? Or is it both, like I said? Does one take priority over the other? Many who came to our Monday night Lenten gathering last week said that the parable last week about the dinner host, if we substitute God in as the dinner host, that doesn't paint God in a very good light. So what do we do about that? Is that parable more for us as humans than about God? Well, so what about these parables that we have before us today. I find, and I agree with those who find, that this is a rather, I'd say, stunning view of God. If we imagine God as the shepherd or God as the woman looking for a coin. Because it shows us that God's love is out there, in here, searching relentlessly for what or who is lost. God is at work as the shepherd, as the treasure owner, bringing the valuables back into the fold. God here, if this parable is primarily about God, is noticing that someone or something is missing. So God is at work on this perpetual rescue mission operation. And it is God who celebrates when the rescue, when the lost is found. Well, many people have, maybe this goes for you, have heard in this parable, many Christians have heard in this parable, actually a call to become missionaries, right? That it's really about our call as followers of Jesus to be out searching the ends of the earth for those who are so-called lost or unchristian. Bring them into the fold. I would like to have us think today with a different lens. Think about it from a different angle. And here my new best theological friend, I've never met her. Her name is Debbie Thomas. I feel like she's part of our congregation. We quote her so much. But I found her writings so provocative. So let me share just a little bit from her. What if, she asks, these parables are not about people outside the Christian faith? What if this parable is about the insiders, about us being lost, the churchgoers, the bread and wine consumers, the Bible readers? These, Debbie Thomas writes, are parables about lostness on the inside. Because remember, this is a sheep that the shepherd already had. The coin was in the woman's possession. Well, what does this mean if we see this as a parable for those on the inside? It means, Thomas says, that lostness isn't an experience exclusive to not yet Christians or non-Christians. Lostness happens here, within the community of God. It's not that we cross over once and for all from sort of this spiritual, sinful lostness to a righteous foundness. No. We get lost over and over again. And guess what? God is relentless in finding us over and over again. So she says, lostness is part and parcel of the life of faith. And let's just get used to admitting that as Christians. Well, she goes on here and explores, well, okay, what does it mean to be lost? Okay, just let that question sit with you a little bit. How have you experienced lostness? Whether physical or spiritual. It can mean so many things. Let me give you some examples. It could mean that we lose our sense of belonging somewhere. We lose our capacity to trust. We lose our felt experience of God's presence. Some of us lose our will to persevere. We might get lost when illness descends or injuries occur, when God's love or goodness starts to look like a thing of the past. We get lost when death comes too soon. It might always come too soon and too suddenly for someone we love. And we experience a crisis of faith that might leave us reeling. Some of us know what it's like to be lost within our marriages, our closest companionships. Some of us get lost when our children break our hearts, or when our parents break our hearts. Some of us get lost in the throes of addiction, anxiety, lust, unforgiveness, hatred, bitterness. The list goes on. So Debbie Thomas would have us all just, it's uncomfortable. But how are we feeling lost very close at home, within maybe even the very walls of the church? Debbie Thomas asks, or I hear it as a question, have you ever got lost when prayer turns to dust in your mouth? Have you ever felt lost when the scriptures we once loved lie dead on the page? Or when sitting in a pew on a Sunday morning makes your skin crawl? When even the most well-intentioned sermon sucks the oxygen out of our lungs? Or when the table of bread and juice that once nourished us now leaves us cranky, bored, or hungry? And I would add that think most of the people I know are feeling a little lost in the United States political realities unfolding. We get lost. We are lost. And can we imagine in our lostness a persistent, relentless love trying to find us and bring us back somehow? Can you even entertain that notion that you might be on God's mind, calling you back? I'll share just a few more things that I gleaned from Debbie Thomas. She has us think about God being a God of the lost things. God is where the lost things are. God is where lostness reigns. God is in the remotest corners of the house, in the rugged wilderness of our lives and hunger. Now, does this mean, if we believe that to be true or want to believe that to be true, does that mean, I'm asking this now, that we have to be lost or recognize our lostness in order to find God? Do we have to get lost to find God? I don't think so. To me, it's more about recognizing the power and life that can come with that awareness, that recognition that we don't always know the way, that we are indeed lost many times. And what if we had lived with sort of this consent, this willingness to be found? What do it mean to live with a willingness to be found over and over by God? So I return to how the parable starts. I'll wrap up here. It starts with the fact that Jesus has all these crowds starting to follow him, right? And the Pharisees are grumbling. Did you notice that word? The churchgoers, the upright people are grumbling as he goes about his teaching and travel. And that's, I think, precisely what he's speaking to. That the so-called religious insiders, they can't admit to their own lostness. Well, I want to talk a little more personally with all of you here in Pivot. As I think about the phrase, death into life, I'll try to bring this full circle here. I suppose I was drawn to that phrase of the song, Doug, that you sang, because I've had the great privilege of walking with you all these past 11 years through a lot of lostness. There's been significant struggles that some of you have faced, grief, relationship struggles. I've stood up here after deaths by suicide. I know firsthand what vulnerabilities some of you experience, and I thank you for trusting me with your stories. We've been through a lot of lostness together, I think, as a church over these last 11 years. I thought of George Melby, actually, this morning. To his dying day, he made me promise that there wouldn't be a funeral for him. You know why? Because his greatest fear in life was that no one would come. Once he was able to admit that to me, we had really good conversations I wish we would have had 10 years ago about the fear of being left behind, abandonment. Some of you know he was adopted and lived a life of struggle with healthy relationships and secure attachment. We did have a funeral, and people came, and we had donuts. I felt him smiling. So I've witnessed lostness. I've borne witness to it in your lives. You've also witnessed your pastor being lost at times. In my own throes of grief, ineptitude, dysfunction, I was reminiscing the other day. I'm in I'm taking a course right now through the seminary, Mennonite seminary, and I wrote this story. Jan Berge, it's about you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Because I was reminiscing about a time when, I don't know if you remember, I think it was soon after Glenda Campbell died. And I was aware of the many complex realities around her death. I was feeling a little lost, was grieving, was maybe just really rattled. And after church, instead of going to Sunday school, I went to my office, and I sat there, alone, with tears streaming down my face. And wouldn't you know, someone just came in, and it was Jan. I think you were looking for something. And she clearly noticed what state I was in. And my memory is that she just sat there, I think offered to hold my hand gently, and just sat with me. Didn't say much, but sat with me. And I will forever be grateful for the way you bore witness to my own pain. So where does that leave us as we move about time, face the many struggles and difficulties, concerns of the day? May we keep paying attention to each other. Count our blessings. Reach out to people. You may not ever know what the person next to you is really going through. Reach out. I'll end with this, the great Mary Oliver poet, who says that the key to living life is pay attention, be willing to be astonished, and tell about it. In other words, rejoice when foundness is discovered. May it be so. Thank you, choir. Our community building time here at Rainbow, if you're new here, we have a chance for you all to share or comment on the sermon if you so choose. David Bluford has the microphone, so raise your hand if you want to introduce yourself or have someone with you that you want to introduce. Pass the friendship registers that are on each pew. Oh, yes, and the children. Is Naomi here? Okay, so Sarah's going to lead the time of singing with children, so thank you. Go ahead and follow her down to the Rainbow Room, is that right? By the kitchen. Have fun. Make a joyful noise. Yeah, so raise your hand for joys or introductions. We'll start with that. And Keith, looks like, right? Okay, yes.
I already have the microphone.
Hi.
I'm Sarah Unruh, and I have some guests with me. Pam Schmidt, a family friend from Newton, and then also my mom, Andrea.
Wonderful. And Sarah's who we're going to celebrate with at noon. For those who RSVP'd, congratulations on the upcoming wedding.
Keith Yarwood, and I've got a couple of joys. First of all, most of you know, because I brag on my son a lot, that he has been accepted to a master's program at the University of Edinburgh in computer science. I'm also happy to announce that his girlfriend, Gabby Johnson, has also been accepted not into one but two graduate programs at the University of Edinburgh. And they're not going to be dating as of this Friday because they're going to get married in Gallatin. So.
Well, congratulations.
This is Phil Rhodes, and I want to introduce Sean. Sean Bolter is a friend from many years back, was a very good friend of Bill Goodman, who died, I don't remember, 5 years ago, it seems like. Thank you, Sean, for being here. I hope you'll enjoy this congregation.
Welcome. Great to have you. Brenda.
Hi, I just wanted to give an update on my nephew's basketball team. They actually won their first two games and will be playing in the Sweet 16 this Tuesday at noon. If you happen to get ESPN Plus, you can actually watch the game. I wanted to let anyone here that is from the Pretty Prairie area, if you ever remember the Flickner family, my brother-in-law Bob, it is his son Blake that is the coach of the team.
Cool. Love that connection. Thanks for sharing. Yes, Nancy.
Nancy Gritman here. Nice to have Abigail after their choir tour here for the weekend, and her boyfriend Ernest Ferrier, who is now in Newton as well. So
good to have you both here. Other joys or prayer requests? I'll keep moving this. Laura here.
Speaking of Naomi and Harold, I got a text from Naomi, and yes, I read it during church. But he was admitted into KU. He woke up and had some slowed speech and some movement issues. So Naomi took him in. They've run a battery of tests. They think he had a mild or mini stroke. And they're still there. They're going to do some heart things tomorrow or today. So I request prayers for both Harold and Naomi.
I did talk to Naomi. For visitors, she said it'll stick to family today at least. Jonathan, do you want to add anything to the announcement? Okay. Okay. They are both very appreciative of our love and our prayers. She was quick to say that. Ed?
Hi, Ed Neufeld died. My daughter-in-law Amy's mother, Monica Hinkhouse, died Thursday. after a number of years struggle with Alzheimer's. I have sometimes heard Alzheimer's described as a long goodbye, and so hopefully Amy and her dad Cliff and brother Chris and family can finally have some closure. And I request caring thoughts for them and Amy's family as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Due to time, I think we'll kind of shift now into announcements. Doug, Natasha first. Doug, could I put you on the spot to share any more about what you've learned as of today? Okay. Natasha, do you want to? Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to be giving a talk on immigration law for Sunday school, and we service our non-for-profit services, the detention centers in Lawrence and Topeka for unaccompanied minors, and as of Friday, the federal government has rescinded that contract, and so it's not just for us, but it's for people all across the United States who are doing this kind of work, which means that children are now going to be in detention facilities without legal representatives. And they are starting to move children into larger, more inhumane camps, if you will. And that is part of the reason why they've rescinded the contract so that attorneys are not able to observe what's going on. So this is an update, even since I wrote the presentation earlier this week, and we'll be talking a bit about that during the presentation. Is that what you were envisioning? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so the youth group Sunday school is going to meet in the Wesley room because this is an important presentation. I think we need to be involved in it too.
Great. So over here, we'll start after a time of coffee and donuts, maybe 10:45-ish. Listen for the bell, the new bell. That's very loud.
I'm Kent Kaufman. I wanted to ask for some thoughts and prayers for our oldest daughter, Kate. For a while now, she's been experiencing a lot of stomach and GI-related problems, and these kind of escalated over the last several months to the point where we could not just chalk it up to high school stress. After meeting with a GI specialist and having a number of tests done, she was diagnosed with severe ulcerative colitis. So bad news is this can be a chronic and lifelong and somewhat intermittent issue for people. It can be associated with a number of health problems as an adult. It's a risk for colon cancer. The good news is that we have an outstanding pediatric GI specialist that we're working with, and there are quite a number of new treatments. All you have to do is turn on your TV and you see advertisements for these kinds of things. So she has responded already to some of the initial kind of temporary treatments, and now we are kind of looking for some maintenance kind of thing. These are usually injections or IV infusions, and she will actually be starting some infusion therapy this next month. All of this comes at a time that's a busy time for her. She is a few months away from graduating high school, and will be starting college in the fall at TCU in Fort Worth, so not exactly around the corner to Holly and I, so that gives us a little intrepidation, but we do have faith that God is going to lead us in a good direction with this. And we also are very blessed to have a daughter who's tough as nails and has handled this quite remarkable. I don't know that I would be doing as well in this situation as she is, and I think it's a good reminder to some of us old people how well young people and children can sometimes do when faced with adversity like this. So we just ask for your thoughts and prayers.
Maybe you can share the Shepherd Me, O God song with her when you get home.
Dale Graham, we have a change in the adult education classes. The folks who were going to meet today in the quilt class have decided they'd like to hear Doug speak this morning too. So both classes will begin next week. So that's the On Tyranny class and Quilt of Souls class will both start next week.
But today will be conversation with Doug. Any other announcements? Great, Eli over there.
I'm Eli Jansen. If you want a model of the church, you can sign up for one and we'll print it and give it to you next week down, what's that? The Fellowship Hall. It's just like on the way in down those stairs, there's a little sign-up sheet and you can look at the examples. But yeah.
Wonderful. And you designed it and printed. You have your own 3D printer? Yeah. Yeah. And how much do people owe you for one? 25? 20? So he $20, and he donates half of it to a charity. Yeah. Thank you. Bye. Ken.
Ken Gertz, I'd like to meet briefly over the coffee and donuts with the stewardship committee members just to plan for a meeting in April in advance of our congregational meeting and the church council meeting.
Okay, great. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, well, we'll move now into the offertory. If it's helpful, you can just close your eyes too and enjoy the music. But I've been thinking again of the lines in Shepherd Me, O God, 744. If it's helpful to have something open and looking at, center yourself on those phrases and promises. Consolation and desolation. It's everywhere, in here. Let us pray that God would be at work in our lives, in our country, in the world, bringing life out of death. We are part of the banquet that's made in the presence of hate. May it be so.